Welcome into the Lucas and Lucas podcast. Mike, the day has arrived. Kyrie Irving is coming back. How excited are you to see the return of one of the most gifted, one of the most exciting players in NBA history?
I'm ecstatic. The Nets need a spark. They've been terrible the last couple of games. They've blown leads down the stretch. They've struggled to score when it matters most. And this is something we've been waiting on for 4 or 5 months now? The whole drama of will Kyrie play? Will he not play? It comes to an end tonight. Kyrie Irving is going to suit up in a Brooklyn Nets jersey, something that you said would not happen this year. And he's going to step on the court and do what he does best. I think expectations for Kyrie should be pretty high. I truly believe that despite not playing with Brooklyn, he was staying in basketball shape, working on his skill, doing what he does better than virtually anyone else in the world, which is create shots for himself and others. And I fully expect him to step on the court tonight, probably play about 20, 25 minutes. And if he doesn't score 15, 16 points, I'll be disappointed. I think he's that talented, that ready to step on the court and contribute immediately. And yeah, I think he's exactly what Brooklyn needs at this time. We'll get to that in a sec, but this is a much needed jolt in the arm for a Brooklyn team that struggled the last 3 games.
I mean, to be fair, what leg did anyone have to stand on? And that's what changed their stance. I mean, they were pretty adamant since the beginning of the season that he's not vaccinated. We don't tolerate part-time players. And Kyrie Irving is so stubborn and so arrogant about, not getting the vaccine that it just felt like, why would they change their stance? But obviously Kevin Durant spoke up and they changed it. But now you just got to hope that they continue to push him to eventually, play in home games. But as far as the team and the losing, it's like, obviously 3 straight losses is something I never saw coming with this team. They should have beaten the Clippers. That loss should have never happened. The Ja Morant game, all right, that's fine. That, I guess that's going to happen.
Grizzlies are hot right now.
But 3 straight losses, man, it feels like the season is just spiraling out of control. Ever since Kyrie returned to practice, they haven't won a game. I almost feel like the constant questions about Kyrie Irving is it's created this distraction almost. And I feel like the guys are not as focused, and I really hope that could change. But do you feel like there's anything to the fact that, Kyrie Irving, that he comes back to the team and all of a sudden they lose 3 straight games? Do you see any correlation there or no?
Not at all. I think this season, with the influx of guys playing, not playing, the uncertainty of who will be there, who won't be there, has made every team in the league way more inconsistent than it would be on a typical season. We've seen the best teams in the league outside of Golden State really drop a couple of games in a row that you kind of scratch your head at and say, how the heck did they lose this game? They were up, 14 points in the fourth quarter against the Clippers? Was it 11, something like that? That's a game the Nets should have won, and give the Clippers credit for making shots down the stretch and the Nets for executing terribly on offense down the stretch. But no, I don't think there's any correlation to Kyrie coming back having those questions be asked. I think it's more of just the lack of consistency, which is partly due to Kyrie, but a lack of consistency on a roster, on rotations. I mean, Steve Nash is playing guys now that hadn't played earlier, seeing what they can do. It's the regular season. I think Brooklyn knows regular season doesn't matter a whole lot to them in the grand scheme of things. So they're trying different things rotationally. And when you mix and match so many different times and you have so many different moving parts, it is hard to play at the same level in crunch time, night after night, with the level of consistency you need to win in the NBA. So I don't attribute it to Kyrie Irving. I attribute it more to just a lack of consistency within the own organization of who's there and who's not, than one player individually who hasn't been on the court all year for them, whether or not he's practicing or not. He hasn't been on the court with them when it matters yet. So I think it's unfair to put that on Kyrie.
I'm not blaming Kyrie, but I'm just saying that the way this sort of timed out here. All I see on Twitter is questions about how is Kyrie looking? How is Kyrie looking? Durant commenting on Kyrie. Harden commenting on, Kyrie looking. How is he looking at practice? How excited are you for him to come back? It's constant just Kyrie Irving. And I think it's partly that, and I think it's partly also the fact that Steve Nash is I think sort of confused right now in terms of who to play. I mean, he's basically given up on the Cam Thomas, David Duke Jr., Kessler Edwards of the world, the guys that go in there and just provide this instant offense, high energy, and is opting to go to the James Johnson, Bruce Brown, DeAndre Bembry route, guys that, play good defense but aren't necessarily when you have Harden and Durant on the floor and those other 3 guys, you really can't count on Bruce Brown, DeAndre Bembry, and James Johnson to generate consistent offense. That's why I think you're seeing so much workload in the past few games on Durant and on Harden. I mean, no one else seems to be scoring. Patty Mills, I was wondering how long this was going to last. but he's finally sort of coming back to earth here. He's not, resembling the player that was, scoring 30 points a game in the West Coast. He's really like, I don't know if he's hitting a wall or what, but he seems to be running out of gas here a little bit. And if I were Steve Nash, I would honestly like give him at least tonight off with Kyrie back in the fold and just let him get his legs back under him, because the Nets need Patty Mills. Like he was almost like playing like an all-star.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. And I will go back to 1 week ago, Frank, when we did a podcast and we were praising Patty Mills, Ben Bree, and Bruce Brown for the energy they brought off the bench, and James Johnson. So they're role guys, and role guys are inconsistent, and that's why they're role guys and not stars. So I think you have to go with the ebbs and flows of playing so many different role guys throughout the season, and it's upon a coach to figure out which guy in a certain situation is going to give your team the best chance to win. And I think Steve Nash has fallen into a pattern that isn't necessarily conducive to winning. I wish he would mix and match a little more than he has, just because I do think the offensive load he's putting on Harden and Durant is unsustainable for a full season. And guys like Cam Thomas, guys like Kessler Edwards, David Duke to a lesser extent, but still can create some of that instant offense that Bruce Brown and DeAndre Bembry just don't bring to the court. It's just not in their game, and they're not young per se, like Thomas, who's a rookie, Duke, who's a rookie, Kessler, who's a second-year guy. Their games are developed a little more. Like Bruce Brown's never going to turn into a 20-point scorer. He's not. That's not his game. Bembry's not either. They've been in the league 5-6 years now. What they are is what they are. And from a coaching standpoint, sometimes you'd rather have faith in what you're getting from a certain player than the uncertainty of, hey, Cam Thomas is a rookie, but he can score 20 points one night. The next night, he might be unplayable. And Nash seems to be falling back on the certainty more than the uncertainty. But with so much change in the rotation, I would like to see him mix it up a little bit. I would like to see some of these younger guys get a shot to prove that, hey, when I'm playing alongside KD and Harden, I can find a way to contribute to this team other than just being the go-to scoring option like I have been my whole life. And these are the times to get out of my face, fly. These are the times to experiment with that. You can't do that in the playoffs. It's going to be tougher with Kyrie on the court. That's another guy who needs the ball. So these games are where I would have liked to see Steve Nash incorporate some of those guys into the more normal rotation. But, man, this is a week ago. We were praising Steve Nash for pushing all the right buttons. I'm not going to flip on him in 1 week just because they've had a bad stretch.
Right. I mean, and you also have the perspective that, it's January, the playoffs will start for another like 3 or 4 months. So there's still so much season left here. But it does, like I said, it does feel like when things are going bad, like it feels like it's never going to end. Like losing by the way they did to Memphis, like damn. But
how much fun is John Morant, real quick? Just on a side, how much fun is he to watch?
I mean, when he's playing against you, he sucks. But yeah, I mean, what a break for the Grizzlies that everyone's so like Zion, and now you look at John Morant, maybe like I don't know. Do you view him as more like a Allen Iverson type player or Derrick Rose? I mean, who's the comparison for John, or is there a comparison for John Morant?
Not Allen Iverson, because he's just way more. He's bigger, more athletic. I think Derrick Rose is a pretty good comparison, but he's already a better shooter than Rose was. I think he's just a new generation point guard, where these super athletic guys who are impossible to stay in front of are kind of taking over the league, and he's built in that perfect mold to be that next guy. But as we've seen in the playoffs, when defenses tighten up and they start cutting off the driving lanes and pack the middle, they'll make him shoot. It's still, the jury's still out on whether or not he can be the John Morant we've seen this season and last season in the regular season in those scenarios. So, I'm not ready to crown him the second coming of Derrick Rose yet, but he's playing out of his darn mind right now. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that if you had a redraft of that draft, 2019, it would be, John Morant would be, clear cut, undisputed number one. I don't know who would go second. How far would Zion fall? Would you still take him like top 3, top 2?
I'd have to look at the rest of the draft, but I know RJ Barrett was the 3rd pick in that class.
Right, RJ Barrett was 3rd.
And I would still take Zion with the injury history over RJ Barrett, because I just don't fully trust RJ Barrett. What was that 2020 draft?
2019.
2019.
So Zion, Ja, RJ Barrett, DeAndre Hunter, Darius Garland, who's pretty. He might he might go second if you had to redo it. Jarrett Culver, Colby White, Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura, Cam Reddish, Cameron Johnson, PJ Washington, Tyler Hero, who probably would be a top 5 pick if you had to redo it. Romeo Langford, Sekou. I'm not going to say his last name. Chuma.
He was a net for a little bit.
Nikhil Alexander Walker.
I'm looking at it right now, Frank. Zion's still the 2nd pick.
You think you would take him over Darius Garland, number 2, right now?
Yeah, I think Garland has a chance to be he already is a good player. Already is good. I think Zion, when we've seen him healthy, is a special player, a guy that no one else in the league is like.
I mean, there's a chance Zion never plays in the NBA ever again. Like that possibility is out there.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's the risk you take. But when you're drafting second, you're not drafting.
You're taking Darius Garland second, probably Tyler Hero third, and maybe Zion either fourth or fifth.
Just because I vehemently disagree, but
I mean, I'm not a doctor, but this foot thing and his weight, like he's got to get someone's got to get. I mean, maybe he just needs to change teams here to realize that, like, all right, I'll start like working on my health. Maybe I don't know if he's trying to force his way to New Orleans, but the Zion stuff is very, very, very bad. Last point on Kyrie Irving here before we transition out of this. But so here's the deal with Kyrie Irving. So let's say he were to play home games. He would not be fined by the city of New York if he played in New York City. However, the Nets would receive a warning, hey, don't do that. I don't know from who. If he played in a home game, that would be for the first game he plays at home. All it would be was a warning, a slap on the wrist, like whatever that means. The second game is $1,000 fine, $2,000 for the third game, and then $5,000 for every single game afterwards. So basically, tally it all up, plays in every home game the rest of the season. It's $88,000. $88,000. I know, like the principle of following the rules and the law, but who are the Nets kidding here? I mean, you're a $1 billion organization. You're paying Kyrie Irving $18 million to sit at home and not play home games, and the rules are that if he does play, you get fined after starting with the fourth game, $5,000 per game. I mean, like, what the heck am I missing here? How is he not suiting up for every home game? And how is multi-billionaire Joe Tsai not being, all right, I'll just pay. I mean, the only thing I can think of is that, like, I remember there was an incident with a baseball player at an airport a couple years ago, or a long time ago, or within the last, like, 10 years.
Whenever it happened, it happened.
Right. So he went to an airport and he just, like, parked his car, like, on right in front of, like, the terminal. And the cop was like, you can't do that. He's like, I'll just pay the fine, whatever it is. Just, like, give me the ticket and I'll just, pay it, whatever. Like, I think he ended up getting, like, arrested for it. Like, you can't, like, act and, disrespect the law in that regard. So I feel like maybe that's the only thing I can think of is that, the rules are the rules, but if you just, like, blatantly ignore them like that, I don't know if the consequences are any greater or if they're actually just going to be, all right, a few $1,000s. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate the money. Like, I just don't understand what I'm missing here. If the punishment is not worth the crime. It's like, a baseball player in the 90s, you could take steroids. Nothing's going to happen to you. You'll just have better numbers and you get more money. So you might as well just do it. And this feels like a similar thing. If they really wanted Kyrie Irving to not play in home games, they would say if an unvaccinated player suits up in New York in the Barclays Center, you forfeit the game. That would be something that, okay, crap, we really stuck here. But I just don't see why you wouldn't play him. And if we get to the playoffs and these are the rules and Joe Tsai does not pony up the money, I am going to have major, major, major issues. I'm going to want a new owner. I'm going to want someone else running this team because what that tells me is that you do not care about winning. I don't know what your priorities are, but if you're not willing to pay $5,000 for a guy to play in one of your best players, one of the best players in the history of the NBA, from a talent standpoint, if you're not willing to pony up a few $1,000s for him to suit up in a home game, that tells me all I need to know. And you should not be owning an NBA franchise because that is cheap, that is out of line, and that is just everything that's wrong with being an owner in today's game. Make him play home games.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the extended consequences would be. I have no idea. It seems silly that they're willing to pay him $18 million this year, even though he's playing literally a quarter of the season. But they wouldn't pay $5,000 to have him play at home games. I something tells me something has to have been said along the lines of that baseball player. Like, hey, you can't just blatantly, like, the law is a law, unfortunately. Like, you can't just say, F you, we're not doing it, despite the fact they're going to pay the fine. I don't know, though. And yeah, you're right. I would love to see something be done about it. And whether Joseph Tsai pays the fine or not, I hope just he gets vaccinated and this is not even a debate come playoff time.
But I'm just telling you, if we do get to that point, nothing changed. But I think it's sort of drifting in the situation of changing, in the direction of changing, because you're already seeing like the CDC, lowering the mandate lowering the isolation period from 10 days to 5 days. You're already seeing the Nets walking back their. If he's not vaccinated, he's not playing. Like they already walked that back. So I think you're slowly seeing things turn for the Nets. It's just a matter of how much more will they turn, because at the end of the day, like I think COVID's going to be around for the rest of our lives, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not. It just this feels like something that's going to be around for as long as we live, and we're just have to accept it. Like you have a cold, you have COVID, it's just another variation of a cold, and like we can't be living like this for the rest of our lives. Like you just can't do it.
Well, we're gonna see. Let's talk about the next topic though, Frank, because as fun as Kyrie Irving coming back is, Antonio Brown equally on the other end of the spectrum made a spectacle of himself in probably the worst way possible this Sunday at MetLife. You're a Jets fan. You hate Tom Brady. Well, you respect him, but
I don't hate Tom Brady. I don't hate Tom Brady.
I'm sure you were watching that game completely locked in.
No, I was not. I have not been locked into a Jets game. I think the last Jet game that
not even when they were winning over Brady by 14 in the third quarter.
Was I excited? What is there to get excited about? Well, we can improve to 5-12. I'm so excited.
Well, you could beat Brady though. I mean, I feel like that is something that happens.
In your life. No, Mike, I have perspective, unlike a lot of people in this world. In order for me to get excited about it, I need to know there's a chance to win a championship. If I'm like 3-13 and I can beat Tom Brady, like give me a break. I don't get excited about that crap. I want something to be actually excited about. This whole idea about this, team that's a plus 8,000 on the money line winning a game. Like I don't get excited unless I have money on it. I don't get excited about that. Like give me a break. The last Jet game I think I truly got excited about was probably week 1 of 2019. When they lost the Bills. And after that, after that, Sam Darnold got mono, and I really haven't been excited for a single game since. I got very excited during the Bengals game this season when Mike White went out there, threw for 400 yards, and it was just like the most competent Jets quarterback of my lifetime.
Ever. Yeah, ever.
But in terms of getting excited for a Jet game, man, I mean, Mike, come on now. It's been 11 years of nothing. The last meaningful Jet game in history was week 17 of 2015 when they lost to the Bills with a chance to make the postseason against Rex Ryan and blew it. Believe me, there have been very few meaningful Jet games this decade, and ever since the Giants lost.
This week was meaningful in a different way, though, Frank.
Well, it had nothing to do with the Jets. Believe me,
I know. Honestly, let's talk about Antonio Brown then. All
right. So I was like sort of following the game because I was monitoring the game just to see just to make sure we didn't miss anything. And all of a sudden, you look up at the screen, and Antonio Brown has his shirt off, is throwing things in the stands, and is running off the field. And the first thing I thought was that he got ejected. Like he did something with the referees, like ejected him. Wrong. Next thing I thought was maybe he's hurt and maybe he just can't continue or something. And I just never would have foreseen that that he would have just ran off the field like a petulant child. And maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm in over my head, but I really, really thought that the fact that Tom Brady was on this team, I thought Tom Brady had him sort of set him straight. I thought, they were apparently living together for a period of time, that, Brady gave him this chance that no other franchise would. And I really thought that he was going to, continue behaving himself, especially since, they won the championship last season. There was not a single incident last year with him on the team. It seemed like everything was going according to plan in terms of Antonio Brown being, a good teammate, a quality locker room guy. But man, there is something seriously, seriously wrong with Antonio Brown. I think, ever since he got hit by Vontaze Burfict in that playoff game, 9-10 years ago, whatever it was, he just hasn't been the same guy. He has these random outbursts. He's, the whole vaccine card thing, the domestic assault stuff. It's just, the guy just continues to make these decisions and do these things that, make no sense. And I hate to say it, but it just screams to me of, of a degenerative brain disorder like CTE. Like this guy just can't control himself. He's so impulsive. And honestly, it's like sad. It's not something I feel like everyone should be criticizing the guy for. I really feel like these things are sort of out of his control and there's really nothing he can do about it. His brain is just all over the place and he can't control it.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not ready to sit here and diagnose anyone with CTE.
Right. I'm not saying I'm not like diagnosing him, but like I just can't justify his behavior any other way. It is so ridiculous. I mean, you've been
It is
watching sports
bizarre, Frank.
for your whole life. Have you ever seen a player
Nope.
just storm off the field, take their equipment off, throw it in the stands, and it just like basically quit? I mean, there was a Vontae Davis thing a couple of years ago, but that was, I guess, a little bit different. The Bills were terrible, and he was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like the losing just too much for me.
I can't explain the behavior. It makes no sense. You hear all the stories. Bruce Arians said, go in. He said, I'm hurt. Bruce Arians said, you're not, allegedly. Bruce Arians said he's no longer a Buck, but they haven't cut him yet. Like, I don't exactly know what happened. I don't think we'll ever know exactly what happened. Antonio Brown seems to live in Antonio Brown's world, and nothing else on the outside matters to him. And whether that's appropriate or not, that's for each individual to decide. I think what Tom Brady said after the game about Antonio Brown was telling. That he said, hey, it may look bad, but everyone needs help. You know, try to be kind, try to be compassionate to this guy. He's going through some stuff. What that is, I don't know. I just, from the outside looking in, it's hard for me to believe that Antonio Brown functions mentally in the same way the rest of us function. He doesn't seem to understand the consequences of his actions. And whether that is a result of CT, whether that is a result of his upbringing, whether it is a result of all the stuff he's gone through the last couple of years, because there has certainly been a long list of dramatic events that he has been the focal point of in the last decade. I mean, there's been a million, like from freezing his foot off in a cryo chamber to needing his own helmet and not wanting to wear the right helmet. The list goes on and on. I hope he gets the help he needs. He was at the Nets game last night, just chilling there.
Well,
two nights ago. Just chilling there, hanging out.
But like, doesn't that like say something? Like that's something that signifies to me something is seriously wrong. This is a guy who just like quit his career and then all of a sudden is living the life the next night and going out sitting courtside at a basketball game
Antonio Brown lives in Antonio Brown's world, and to him nothing else matters.
But something's off there. Like that just doesn't add up. Like you should be like embarrassed. Like you should like almost like go into hiding. Not like, I mean that's the way like a normal person would react and like apologize. Like, hey,
we've learned Antonio Brown's not normal though. That has been showcased and proven time after time. Antonio Brown does not function the same way we function, Frank. He is an elite athlete with an elite work ethic that somehow can't seem to stay out of trouble. And there are just some people that are like that. And I don't know.
But don't act like this is, he's just, has this bad luck. This isn't bad luck. This is, no. I mean, he's doing all this is all self-inflicted in every conceivable way.
Yes, it is. But I'm just saying, I think it's unfair for us to sit here and be like, CTE for sure. Like that's CTE when there could be a million.
I'm telling you, there's something wrong. Mike, there is something wrong with the guy that he cannot control himself.
I'm just not willing to go there and diagnose someone when I went to Emerson for a journalism degree and I have zero knowledge of like diagnosing a guy over a television or a Twitter video. Like,
but or you even like see like, I mean, the way like wrestlers act, like the guys that have just gotten beat up so many times, they just do things that they can't control. I've seen like stories. I've watched like real sports of these guys who do these things after they've gotten hit in the head and like whether it's bursting out on their wife or their children, these outbursts and like they come out of nowhere and like they're not like themselves and there's just no rhyme or reason or explanation for them and like this is just I've seen these patterns before. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
no, he's on his own level. Like he's on his own level. Antonio Brown.
Last thing so that you mentioned the Nets game. They did not show him on the jumbotron at the Nets game. If you were running new Brooklyn Nets video operations, would you have put a camera on Antonio Brown and showed him on the jumbotron?
Honestly, no, because I go back to the same thing I said a second ago. You don't know what the dude's going through, and like, yeah, would have got. On the one hand, it could have got a crazy round of applause, or on the other hand, they could have started booing the guy. And I just, at that point, like let Antonio Brown go through whatever he's going through.
So let's say they did show him, and the 17,554 people at Barclays Center on Monday night, all like just boo, like just rain down boos on him. Would he have gotten up and like just like give everyone the finger and like taking his clothes off, throwing him on the court and like what is that what they were afraid of?
I think it's impossible to predict what
I would have
Brown would do in
paid
any situation.
But they showed. I can tell you this: they did show him on the Yes Network, which is the only reason why. Because he was wearing sunglasses. The whole sunglasses indoors thing, like I don't know what you're trying to achieve there. But they did show him on the Yes. I would never guess that it was him if they hadn't shown him on the Yes Network. No one was tweeting about it until they showed him. No one knew he was there. I would have loved to have been at the game and like just like try like going up to him and like talking to him and figuring out like what he said. Because I would have like just to know what he was thinking and be able to talk to him about it would have been like epic for me.
Yeah.
But so Antonio Brown Instagrammed the video of that the Yes Network showed. So he obviously found out that he was at least shown somewhere and was very excited that he got that publicity in some capacity.
Yeah, good for Antonio. I hope he gets the help he needs.
So on Monday night, after I won my fantasy championship and after Antonio and the Nets lost their third straight game, Ben Roethlisberger played what everyone seems to believe, and all signs point to his final career game at Heinz Field. When you look at Ben Roethlisberger's career, the first 5 or 6 years were euphoric. I mean, they went to 3 Super Bowls, they won 2 of them. It felt like, it was just a dynasty that, that was just never going to end. But as we've seen before with quarterbacks, once they lose a Super Bowl, Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, Jimmy Garoppolo,
Tom Brady,
Ben Roethlisberger, but not Tom Brady's the lone exception. Tom Brady made the lone exceptions. Joe Flacco, or he won. But either way, I don't know. How do you explain the last 11 years of Ben Roethlisberger? I mean, he had some really quality years. 30, I believe he threw for a career high touchdowns in like 2018. But the Steelers just never. I believe they won like 2 or 3 playoff games in the last 11 years since they lost the Super Bowl. Total 2 or 3 playoff games total. Is that just a case of bad luck, too much? Like, how do you view Ben Roethlisberger's for the last basically the 65-70% of his career after those first 3 Super Bowls in his first 5 years in the league?
I think Roethlisberger is the perfect case study of nature versus nurture. And Roethlisberger was drafted by Pittsburgh in the perfect situation. He had a team around him that was phenomenal on defense. They had enough weapons. They ran the ball well, a good offensive line. And he came in as a rookie, led them, 15 wins as a rookie, something stupid like that?
I believe they went 15, or I don't know if he started all the games, but he went 14-1 at the very
14-1, something like that, yeah. And he comes into the perfect situation and excels when all the pieces around him were good. And early in his career, their defense was elite. They had weapons. And Roethlisberger was a really good quarterback. I mean, Roethlisberger is going to go down as one of the 10, 15 best quarterbacks to ever play. But I think it goes to show that a quarterback can only do so much. And if the pieces around him aren't up to par, it's really, 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 really hard to win a championship in the NFL. And that's a testament to Brady and Belichick and what they were able to accomplish for so long in 20 years in New England. But if not everything's right around you, it is so hard to win. And you look at that Philadelphia team that beat New England in 2017. Like, that was a phenomenal team top to bottom. Like, all the pieces aligned, the stars aligned, even with Carson Wentz getting hurt, like Nick Foles was there, the right backup was there. It takes a lot of luck to win a championship. And I don't think Roethlisberger was necessarily the reason Pittsburgh had so few playoff successes the last decade of his career. But I also think you saw him fall off late the last couple of years where he wasn't nearly the same quarterback he was before. And once again, I'm not comparing him apples to Brady, but you look at a guy like Tom Brady, who's older than Roethlisberger, who still looks 85, 90% of old Tom Brady, right? I mean, at least 80%. Roethlisberger right now is like 40% of old Roethlisberger. His pass chart against Cleveland on Monday night was hysterical. He threw like 4 passes longer than 10 yards downfield. It was just dink and dunk, dink and dunk.
He threw 46 passes and had 123 yards passing. It was absurd. I mean, and if they would have just committed to running Najee Harris, I mean, that game's over in probably the second quarter. Yeah. But they were so committed. Ben was like so committed to just having like this farewell game and chucking it around the field.
He's just not good he's just not good anymore. Like,
right.
Ben Roethlisberger today is just not a good quarterback. He is a bottom 3-4 quarterback in the NFL today. as far as starters go. It's just a fact. Look at his numbers. He can't push the ball downfield. He's old. And that's what happens to older quarterbacks. The same thing happened to Eli Manning. He lost the ability to put zip on the
But here's the
ball.
question. Do you look back at Ben's career and it's like, man, like what happened those last 11 years? Or do you view it as like, wow, what an unbelievable career, like 2 Super Bowls, 3 appearances, one of the best Steelers of all time?
You could look at the what ifs, and there are what ifs in every player's career. Russell Wilson, what if they run the ball?
What if Marshawn Lynch? What if they hand the ball to Marshawn Lynch and they went back-to-back Super Bowls and who knows what? But like, yeah.
So I look at Roethlisberger's career as he was in the right spot at the right time early, and he wasn't on that level of quarterback that can bring a subpar team to a championship for the second part of his career. He was a very good quarterback on a very good team. I don't think he was ever a quarterback. At any point in his career, did you consider Ben Roethlisberger a top 3 quarterback in the league?
I think early on, yeah. I tell you who I didn't though is Eli Manning.
Sure, Eli Manning was never a top 3 quarterback.
Who's better all time quarterback? The last point here, and then we're done. Better all time quarterback, Eli Manning or Ben Roethlisberger?
You know I can't answer this fairly. I'm going to say Eli, but the resume probably backs Roethlisberger. Honestly, it probably does.
Yeah.
But I'd still take Eli. I'd still take Eli.
All right. Kyrie Irving's coming back tonight. That's all that matters. Give me a final score prediction for Nets Pacers on Wednesday night.
Nets 109, Pacers
109? 109?
Yeah. Pacers
if the Nets don't score at least 125 points tonight, then they failed. If you had to guess, what is the line for this game? Wow, never mind. Keep it.
Doesn't fly. 7.5. Brooklyn.
It is 8. So if they win 109, 101, it'll be a push. So you nailed it right on the head. 109, 101. Let's do it. Kyrie Irving scores how many over under? Let me just see what the prop is for Kyrie Irving real quick.
I'm gonna go with 17 points is my guess for the record. 17.
20.5. Will Kyrie Irving score 21 under?
Under. I don't think he'll play long enough to score 20 points.
All right, we shall see. But the main story is Kyrie Irving is coming back. The Nets are back on track, and the road to a championship continues. That'll do it for the Lucas and Lucas podcast. See everybody next week when the Nets are back on a winning streak.